Support for Motley Thoughts is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement and all your below-the-waist grooming needs. And big news, Manscaped just launched in Canada. For those listeners in Canada, you can be one of the first Canadians to experience their life-changing products. Actually, I would have made a freaking killing in Japan back when I played there. There was not a trimmer or razor within 1,000 miles of the locker room for the Japanese guys. Anyways, that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team perfected the greatest ball-haired trimmer ever created and have the Lawnmower 3.0. Their third-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. When I tell you this is premium, it's premium, man. The battery lasts up to 90 minutes, so you can take a longer shave. The waterproof technology allows you to groom in the shower. And one of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for closer and more precise trimming. They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. And let's not forget about the charging stand. Show your mower off loud and proud, because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. If you're listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience this firsthand for yourself and trim that junk of yours. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DUSTY70 at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. All right, let's go. Today is a cool day. It's cool because today I finally cornered this guy, this guest, to be doing my podcast. He's an ex-NHL, AHL tough guy, kind of a rat, and goal scorer, big goal scorer.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, though, he is known for being an unreal teammate, which I have actually witnessed firsthand. Since retiring from playing in 2017, this is where it gets cool. He has marketed himself into being one of the most recognized faces in hockey and social media world. He may come across as just a jokester with a bit of a crooked schnoz, but he is no joke. This is no joke. Known to almost all the hockey world as BizNasty, it gives me great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Paul Bissonnette.
Thank you so much for having me, and sorry that we had to keep pushing this back, but maybe it was you were able to think of more things to throw in that intro, like goal score, or make things up like in the intro, like goal scoring. But it's great to see you again, buddy. And I had such a wonderful time with you in Ontario, and I was actually just talking about you on the Terry Ryan podcast. I experienced a few goalie coaches in my day who were like whisperers in order to connect with their goalies, and it was really cool to see you help turn a few careers around. Peter
thanks,
Buda.
man.
Budai, I don't know how he pronounces it, but I'm not the name guy, and also Jack Campbell, who's doing amazing right now with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. That whole group was a special group.
Was
bunch of great guys. Like I've played for a ton of teams, coached with a ton of teams, but that group was a really tight knit. Especially in pro, you got a lot of cliques, a lot of. It's a business, but you guys really seem to actually really get along.
I was very fortunate. I played in the Pittsburgh organization, obviously with the Phoenix Coyotes organization at the time, now Arizona, but and then LA. And I tell you what, they were able to draft and bring in just great character people. And I never had a bad experience playing pro hockey with those three organizations as far as the people that I was introduced to. And I'm really grateful for it. And it was really cool. Although you weren't around when we won the Calder Cup, we did make a run the next year after to the conference finals, and big in part to you helping out our goaltenders. And as I said, just a great time.
You scored actually in that conference final.
I did. Yeah. I kicked it in and they countered it. So fucking Biz the sniper at it again.
Yeah. Speaking of Ontario, and I told you before we went on here, I wanted to get on Stutz because I had him on earlier, and he wouldn't shut up about you. He went on and on and on. And this is what it was like actually in the office all the time about you. He, we had a lot of good players on that team, but there's something about you. He loved you, although in practice he didn't love you.
No, I was a drill buster, and I was sure he lost. He definitely turned gray a lot quicker because of Biz, and I think that all started when I played for him in junior, and then of course he was able to resurrect at least my career for a little bit when I played for him in Manchester and Ontario.
Yeah.
Like I'll dive into it right now. Obviously, I have he has a special place in my heart. I was in a tough spot because I came out of the NHL after playing 5 seasons, and I couldn't get a contract. Ended up signing a PTO with Arizona's farm team, and it just didn't work out there in Portland. Yeah. And I'll never forget, we actually played against Manchester one of the games where they traveled, and I went and said hi to him after the game in the hallway. And I just had this feeling inside that it wasn't working out there. And, I wasn't really gelling with that group, and, for whatever reason it was. And it's almost like I could sense that. And I said, hey, if something happens here, if you guys, need another guy around to protect all these skilled guys you have, because they had an unbelievable team that year.
Yeah.
And, I know they already had Josh Gratton and also Sabrin, who's doing awesome now with the Leafs as well. He just got called up. Running AHL goaltenders are getting called up the next day. But I'll never forget, I got the phone call and they said, hey, we're releasing you from your PTO. And first phone call was to Fuchs and Stutz. And I said, hey, I'm in a bit of a tough spot here. I said, if you got any opportunity for me, I'd love to come try to make it work there. And they ended up reaching out to Dean Lombardi.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, they called back and they said, hey, come on down. We'll get you a PTO. And this is like legitimately, I think, the same day. And I was, once again, I was in a pretty dark spot. I was basically depressed. Like, holy shit. Like, what am I going to do with my life right
over,
now? Yeah, it's over. It's all over. And they said, hey, we talked to Dean Lombardi. He said, it's fine that you come in. We'll see how things work. But he's got one rule. He said, stay the fuck off Twitter. So I said, for sure. And that's kind of when I took a bit of a hiatus from social media for a while there. But it was probably overall the best year of my life playing hockey. And I'll never forget that group of individuals who resurrected what I think is my life, really.
Yeah, no, it was a special group. It really was. It was, there's every so often you run into a team where you, especially when you're just a coach and I was just watching you guys. It was fun to watch you guys. It actually was fun to watch you practice together, hang out together. It was pretty cool group.
We had such a great group of young guys too that came up, and that's just a credit to that organization, how they were able to draft and find these guys and then of course develop. And those years were very special, and the old guys and young guys had a great bond. We all lived basically in the same complex too, across from where the rink was. And
not a bad spot, eh?
Oh, it was such a fun spot. And of course, living in California, it wasn't too bad other than the state tax bending us over in the American Hockey League. But just a great setup, and once again, very grateful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was funny because speaking to those couple of years there that we were together, I was thinking about some stories, and I remember having to go. I used to practice quite a bit to give boots or soupy rests and whatnot, and go on the ice. And I remember there was like an optional skate, and you were out there, and I skated, and whoever the other goalie was, I can't remember. But we're on the ice, and we did a scrimmage, and you scored a goal, and we're in practicing in that shit rink, that other rink, not the
ice box.
Yeah, we're practicing at that rink, and so there's nobody there. It's freezing cold, and nobody really wants to be there. And you score a goal in an optional skate, and you're like selling down the ice. And I was like, this is a special cat. This is a special dude.
I didn't get many, buddy. You had to enjoy the ones where you're able to find the back of the net. So no, I mean, I pretty much majority of my professional career, at least when I got to the NHL level, was spent playing 3-on-3 with the coaches. So that was usually when I had my time to shine.
Yeah, you made sure of that for sure. The other story that I thought was really cool was, I can't remember when it happened, but when you came to me and you asked if you had a buddy of yours that wanted to know if I'd be interested in giving him one of my masks.
Scott Wheeler, right?
John Wheeler.
Or John Wheeler.
John Wheeler.
Geez,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
I have another buddy, Scott. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. And it ended up being such a cool story, like one of the coolest things for me. And you're like, yeah, he collects masks and wants to know if you'd be willing to give up one of your masks. And I said, right, sure. I talked to him, and it turns out this guy, he's got an interesting story. But like, he worked at, I guess, for Apple or whatever.
Yeah,
He
Apple.
said he would, hook you up with some Apple shit and whatnot. And so I contacted him, and then he's like, I heard he's on my Insta, and he said, you play guitar? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I know the vice president of Schecter and Fender and all these guys. And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
cool.
he is so connected. It's crazy.
So one thing led to another, and then he's asking me what guitars I like, and anyways, the VP at Schecter Guitars in the head place in LA, he got me hooked up there. He told me to pick a guitar. I went into LA, their warehouse where they customize their guitars, and he took me on a tour. They took me on a tour. He gave me like a $2,500 guitar, a MacBook Pro. John gave me a MacBook Pro for that mask I gave him.
Oh my god. Yeah, he is a very generous person. He is obsessed with goalie masks. So
it's insane.
He sent me pictures of his collection, and you would think it was a picture out of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Now, what's even crazier is he has a buddy who has an even bigger collection than him. And I don't know if he ended up sending you pictures from his buddy's collection.
No.
I think he's got a bunch of Hasek helmets with the crazy paint jobs when he was in Detroit on that weird helmet that he wore. And it's, that's one thing about hockey that kind of separates itself from the other sports as far as the memorabilia is concerned, is the goalie mask is just something that is so fascinating. And you even have one right behind you, is like, that's what they used to wear before they were wearing nothing.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, after they were wearing nothing. So it's a very interesting thing. And he is a very, very connected guy.
It's crazy. I looked on his Insta, and every other picture he's hanging with someone famous. And
so that's one thing that I've always wanted to ask you, because I have talked to Sean Burke about it. Now, I'm credit due to the guys who resurrected their own careers, but ultimately it's done with the help of others as well. And you just seem to be able to connect with Boods and then Campbell to a certain degree, to where they felt comfortable, and that dialogue and communication is one of the reasons why they were able to get back to the top level that they played at. How does that even begin when you're introduced to a new project?
Well, I can't speak for all coaches, but the way I coach is primarily based on rapport and that connection, right? So, I know what I'm talking about. I know how to, I'm up to date with all the new stuff that's coming out and all the technical shit. But I believe personally, for me, and how I have success is my ability to connect. And I find that first and primarily the main thing that has to happen before I can teach. And that's what I'm good at. And so with those kinds of projects, I find if I can get them to trust me and have faith in me, and we really connect, and then I can get into their heads a bit and find out, what's holding them back, or what, like with Boods, and they had different stories, but similar in the sense that they had totally lost their way. Boods and Soupy.
Like Boods, I played against him the year before when he was with the Ice Caps, and I don't think he had a single win that season before.
Zero
wins, and he went from that to being the AHL goaltender of the year.
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
Well, so, it was funny because, I was with Winnipeg the year before I signed with LA, I was with Boods. I had Boods. So in St. John's. So he gets traded from Montreal to Winnipeg. He gets sent straight to the American League. So he's an 8-year NHL backup vet that gets sent straight to the AHL. And I could tell right away that he had a huge issue, like not, that he was somebody that was getting fucked, basically. And it kind of dragged heavy on his back all year, and it got worse and worse, especially because I had Helly there too, Hellebuck, and Helly he was a rookie and started playing good and started getting wins. And then every time Boods wouldn't win, it just got a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier. But the thing was, you could tell he was just trying to work harder to get up. That's all he cared about, where he should be. He shouldn't be in the American League. And then when he had that awful season, and he called me when I signed with LA, and he said he had a possible PTO with us there in LA. He asked if it'd be a good situation because they had so many good goalies. And I said, you know what, it could be great, but you're going to have to leave that shit at the door. I said, you got to start fresh and new, like you're nobody, and earn your spot and have fun playing, and let's just go out and play and have fun. And if you can truly do that, then I said, I can totally help you, and we can get this train going again. And I had no idea how fast it would happen, but man, that was a year, man. He was under 6 save percentage, most shutouts in the league. And then the next year he had most NHL shutouts in the NHL.
I witnessed Mike Smith do it one year. I would put that on par with the summer. Obviously the NHL is the NHL, but the run that Boods went on, it was like every game, it was like, boys, if we get 2, we're winning. and usually we would get 3 or 4 because we had such a solid squad.
Yeah.
But it was, and so I was just so interested in like, and at the time is like, you kind of just like, hey, I don't really want to talk to the goalie about that. I just want him staying in whatever fucking zone he's in, because it's a lot more enjoyable around this locker room when this guy's kicking the way he's kicking. Whatever Dusty's doing, keep doing what you're doing, Dusty. But so obviously being at the point that he was at, was it easy for him at that point to take that advice when you're like, you need to leave all that at the door? Was he finally in the place where he's like, it's gone, whatever you're going to say, I'm going to listen to, because that's how vulnerable he was in his career?
You'd have to ask Boods. But I don't want to take all the credit. Like I'd love to, but but I think a lot of it is kind of similar to someone like an alcoholic or an addict that hits bottom. Sometimes you can say all the right things to the people, but it isn't until they're kind of put in a place where they're like, holy fuck, like you're that year, you're like, it could be over. I think he was right there when that summer before he came to LA, he was like, holy shit, no one's knocking on my door after that shit season. And when he called me, that was part of him being open. Like I'm good at getting people to open up, but that would have something to do with it for sure. That feeling of I've got nothing. Like this is it. I either open up and change or do follow a different path, or I'm fucked.
So it was essentially, it had little to nothing to do with any of his mechanics. It was strictly the mindset
with Boods, yeah. With Boods, 100%. Soupy.
Well, so that's a different case, and then obviously with the success that Boods had, and like you said, man, like credit to him, he worked his nuts off.
Oh yeah,
there was not in practice, you weren't scoring one easy. He was fighting for every puck, and then he advances, and everyone's so happy for him, and we're like, oh shit, now we got to get a new sick goalie to help us out to win here. And then Jack Campbell, who I think that at that point, I feel like Dallas had maybe given up on him. Yeah. And then he comes over, and then you're able to get what was his thing?
Well, he actually upstairs was a lot more challenged as far as where he was in his life in general. He was messed up. And when we picked him up for not a big trade, especially for a first rounder.
Yeah.
It was pretty much nothing. That we were taking a flyer on him. They were, thought Lombardi thought if I could get my hands on him and turn him into something great, but they weren't giving up a lot. So we flew him to Vancouver in the summer before camp, and I just hung out with him for a week, and we skated and worked out and shit. But it was about just connecting with him and kind of feeling out where I needed to go with him. And I found out very fast exactly what was up. And I just told him we needed, and this might sound, cheesy or whatever, but he really didn't like himself as a person. He felt like a failure because he had these such high expectations.
Yeah, first rounder, and you
10th
feel like
overall. Like he thought he should be in the NHL at 19, right? And a starter by 20 kind of thing. And he was very goal oriented. So he really felt like a failure. And I just had to dial him back and say, hey, if you can trust me and learn to listen to what I say as far as just loving yourself, and let's just have fun around the game and work on the game and not worry about where he needs to end up.
yeah.
I felt that he's sick talent, right? But he was totally lost in the net, and he didn't even know who he was anymore. So I just kind of told him, when you were playing your best hockey, and I've told this in interviews before, what did you play like? And he was like, oh, I was athletic and I love making big saves and shit. And I said, well, that's not you now. I was skating with him in the summer. I said he was skating like Helly, and him and Helly skated in the summers. They're buddies. But Helly's not like Soup. Helly's a rigid, more technical. Yeah, Soupy's not like that. And I said, you got to be you, man. And when he felt that he had someone that believed in him to let him just be himself, fuck, he took off, man.
Oh my
Another
goodness.
fast. Like
I was
took
so
a lot of
happy
credit,
for him
but
because you could tell he's such a kind soul.
you kidding me?
And
Crazy.
yeah, and like, hey, man, there's I was an insecure player too by the end. Like, I just fucking shoveled the puck around, and I was just didn't want to fuck up, right? And to see to where when he came in to where he was, it was like I was like watching Boots again. I'm like, this guy not only works his bag off, but he's completely found his game.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was just getting so much enjoyment out of thriving in his position again. And also to see him move on and have all the success that he's had, I'm like, okay, like what kind of fucking potions is Dusty? But I mean, give me some of these fucking potions, Dusty. But it was great to see, man. And as a guy who got to reap some of the benefits from the team success based on what you did, man. I mean, thank you very much for all the help that you gave those guys, man.
Oh, thanks.
It was cool. It was cool to watch, man. As much as I didn't want to interfere at the time, I was definitely wondering what the fuck was happening.
Stutz was similar. He was actually good. He was awesome as far as letting me just do my thing.
Yeah.
He would rip on me all the time. And if you ever listen to the pod he did with me, he laid into me a bunch, and I put it out there because I think it's hilarious. But he about how, how the typical coach, you put in 7 to fucking 6 at night and act like you're working, but you're not. Well, I was never into that. And I would always be, as soon as I was done with Boods or whoever, I'd be gone. Right. And he used to just drive him crazy.
Oh, he was a rink rat.
Are you kidding me?
He loved it. He was there at fucking 5 a.m. in his stupid Crocs with his tracksuito on, just finding something to be upset about. And then, God forbid we didn't have a team leadership meeting at least a couple times a week. So he could be like, why do we give up this PK goal when we were up 5-1 in the third period in fucking Bakersfield? Huh? What's happening with our PK? And it's just like, okay, Stutzy. All right. Yeah. Vent it. All right. You want to get the paddle out? Fucking Christ.
He was intense. I'll give you that.
I loved it. It was great.
It was so funny because we're so opposite, and the dynamic in that office, actually, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was hilarious.
Between him and Hyder.
Hyder?
Yeah, Hyder and him. And also, oh my goodness, remember our video coach? Oh my God. Oh, we had he was late a couple times after partying in LA. Yeah, we had so many funny little storylines going on in that locker room. It was great.
Yeah, totally cool. Hey, I was going to ask you a little bit more I'll kick myself if I don't ask you. You go from playing hockey and this thing takes off for you. It's insane, man.
Yeah, things have definitely taken a bit of a wild ride. Like, did I ever expect it to, the podcast and it to evolve in this sort of thing? And I guess the way to describe it, Dusty, is like, the experience of when I was let go off that PTO was scary, because you're like, oh my goodness, like my livelihood could be stripped from me any second. So I
Yeah.
just when I knew it was all coming to an end the last season, when I tore both my ACLs, and I had to come to grips with the fact that it was all ending. I think that fear just led me to put my head down and just wherever the road was going to take me, just put the work in. And I'm still kind of in that mindset of like, I'm putting my head down and I'm not looking up for at least another 4 or 5 years here. Like,
Right.
I would say minimum, just because, yeah, I never want to, I never want to get back to feeling the way I felt, whether it was on my couch before even signing the PTO with the Coyotes to go to the American League, and that exact same feeling that I was left when they let me go off of that. And I think we all just get carved out in our lives from our experiences, and what I took away from that was a lot of fear, and that fear
Mhm.
has kind of led me down that path to just continually work and to try to keep moving forward and distract my mind with doing fun things.
It's great that you combine doing it with something that you actually like to do.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. And I think that I'm very fortunate in the fact that I got to stay around the game, and something that I'm very comfortable with,
Yeah.
because it's hard, man. You see a lot of guys who, when they retire, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't have an education. I mean, I got my grade 12, and so like right away, a lot of options are closed off. I mean, there's other ones there, but I also don't want to sit in an office. I want to be able to use my creativity and
Yeah.
kind of, I want to get to pick what I want to do. I
Yeah.
want that freedom. Freedom is everything. So I've been very fortunate that it's led me to the podcast and being around the group of guys that I get to work with. I'm grateful that the other people off the away from the podcast, like I met a guy named Jeff Jacobson in Vancouver, who was a friend before anything, and he kind of became my business manager, and he's brought me all these other crazy opportunities. And as I said, I've just put my head down and not said no to a lot, and it's brought me to the place that I am now. And
That's
just
sick.
yeah,
That's
it's been fun. It's been fun.
that's sick. It's awesome when that kind of stuff can happen to good people. That's what, like, when I see Soup right now, doing what he's doing, it just makes me feel good when when good shit happens to good people.
Yeah, and it's and in some cases you see like those experiences of being left felt the way that he was feeling at that point in time, where he was a failure. I'm sure that he's extremely grateful that he got put in the circumstance that he did with you, because he probably looking back and he's like, if I didn't have Dusty and I wasn't put into that situation, and if Dean Lombardi, didn't take that risk on me, where is he? I don't know.
Well,
And
he was gonna quit.
that just to hear that is
Yeah, he
it's
was
just funny
quitting.
how the world has a way of working itself out.
Crazy, eh? Like, unreal when you look back. Like, and when he looks back after his career's done, he's really gonna look back and go,
Oh,
"Can you, like, I was
I
this
bet you he
close."
tries not to. I bet you he's like, I don't want to look back to where I was until it's
Yeah,
really all over,
yeah,
because he doesn't want to go back to feeling the way that he did.
yeah. And the gratitude and the humility, being um, humble uh, about what has happened for you, and moving forward, and that gratitude is very important. And he has that in spades.
Oh, he is so humble.
So I don't think he's done either, man. If he gets when he gets healthy, I don't think he's done. I still believe he can be a number one. I've said it from the beginning. I don't know how many people believe me yet, but I think he'll just keep doing what he does, and if he gets his shot, I think he can really help some boys.
I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll get him on the podcast one day. I know right now he's like, hey, maybe when it's all said and done, but he wants to put his head down and keep working to achieve exactly what you just said.
Yeah, well, that's why I haven't had on Soup or Cal. Actually, I talked to Cal yesterday, and he was pretty stoked that you're coming on because he loved the Stutz one. So he goes, I can't imagine what the Biz one's gonna be like. So
He's a special goaltender too.
oh
Stutzy kept raving about him. I unfortunately had retired, so I didn't get to
yeah,
experience him. But he just kind of has this, like, he seemed like a bit of a throwback.
you know, he's different in the sense that when he came to me, he had up here. He was put together. Like he didn't need me for that at the beginning. Uh, it was more so the next year when the team was not very good. He was getting like lit every night, like 50 shots, and just to keep him on the tracks. So that's where I helped him more. But that guy is put together as far as an elite player. Like
So he's going to be a starter.
oh yeah,
Because I think it's great when guys that are young coming up have the ability to learn off a guy like Jonathan Quick and share the net to where all the focus isn't on you.
Yep.
That's probably a positive thing, right?
Right. Well, the first year we brought him in, we split Soupy and him. So Soupy the year before was the all-star in the American League, played every game. So you know how Stutz is.
Yeah.
He did the same thing with Boods, and when he had Soupy, he played him every game. But then the next year, we brought in Cal, and we had this situation, and we smoothed it over and said this can be a really good thing for both of you if you treat it the right way. You know how goalies are. You've played.
Oh,
That
would be tough, man. That would be tough,
Yeah,
balancing personalities. And, I mean, anyone who's going to be successful to any degree, especially when it comes to sports, is type A.
yeah,
Like, you have to want it.
yeah. But I told them, I said, if you both play 35 games and play great and pump each other up, you're going to play those 35 games awesome, and even better than you might have played 60. And you're just going to be a great teammate. Learn how to be a great teammate.
Yeah, that's
And
important.
that year, Cal made the All-Star team. Soupy gets called up, and everybody's for the better.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. You worked it out. You're like a marriage counselor now. Hey,
They used to joke, some people, Lisa Dillman, you ever remember Lisa? She's the
yeah,
athletic reporter.
yeah.
Lisa used to call me like the Dr. Phil, or someone did call me
Oh,
the
yeah.
Dr. Phil of the goalie whisperer. Or
Well,
whatever.
that's, I got to experience Sean Burke who did it, and then you. And so I've always been very intrigued. And we actually had Jeff Merrick on the podcast recently, and he's like, can you believe that like, think of where the goaltending
I
position has
saw
came
that. I listened to that pod. Yeah.
in this short period of time. He's like, to think that these guys didn't have their own coach is fucking nuts.
Well, even to this day, compared to the regular coaches and stuff, how far behind we're catching up. Like we're on constant catch up, as far as the importance of the role of coach and whatnot. And it's always been considered the most important position. Yet, in for most of the history, it's been just stop the fucking puck.
Look, and he made another great point on there. He said, look at the correlation to anybody who's won a Jack Adams. Go show me what their goalie save percentage and goals
Yeah.
against was. In there, he said they should change the name to goalie instead of hockey.
I heard
Yeah,
that.
he was buzzing on there, but
He was a
it was remarkable to see, and it was cool. I got to experience it at both levels too.
Yeah, it's funny with Jeff. Right after I was trying to get you to come on and get you set up and whatnot. Jeff and I were speaking as well, and he said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come on." And then I kind of explained who I was having on this month, and he said, I'll come on after Biz," and I said, "Okay, cool." And then the next week he was on your fucking podcast. I was like,
Yeah.
It's
Oh
like
yeah.
you get it's like the big rotation, eh?
Oh, everybody. Yeah, it's great. It's like,
Awesome.
the
I love
interactions
it.
and the conversations and what people are able to bring in other people. That's why I said, like, people are like, oh, like, all these hockey podcasts are popping up. I'm like, it's great
Oh
because
yeah.
certain experiences that one guy had with another guy is going to get on are different than another one. And the more the merrier, and the more the game grows as well.
It's really cool too, because I'll be honest, since I left Russia and didn't go back this past season, uh there's a lot of downtime, man, for me, and it was getting tough, and it is tough right now. So this kind of stuff for me uh is why I kind of started it in the first place. It's just very therapeutic. It's fun for me, and my pod isn't hockey per se. A lot of my connections are hockey related, but like I said, I'm a musician, so I would love to have musicians and just talk with cool people, man.
I got to
And
put you in touch with the Jay Weinberg.
I need to. That one's 100% I want because he's also a goalie.
Yes. And he's a great guy, and you guys could even jam out because he's playing the drum. We could start a band. I'll be the singer. I got a great voice.
He
La, la,
sounds
la,
like a
la, la,
cool.
la.
He sounds like a cool shit.
He's the man. I'll put you in touch with him to get him on. Now, you just mentioned that you're going to Russia a lot.
No, when I was in the K last year. Well, now it's a whole year now. The year before, I was in the K. Left LA, went to the team that was located out of Beijing. I can't talk about that whole
Yeah, I
situation,
know it was a tough situation.
but
Unfortunately,
the year in general was great. Like it was fucked up. It's weird. It was weird. There's so many stories, but overall, I love the whole experience of it all. And yeah, the K, the K is different, but
oh, it's a different league, isn't it?
yeah, oh yeah,
Did you do
yeah.
any Russian gas when you were there?
No,
Nothing. You didn't get any of that. Now, so were you spending most of your time in Beijing, or were you traveling with the team to other
I
countries?
was
And
with them through that was different than my development role back in the NHL. Like I would kind of bounce around, but with that team, I was with them. I was with them the whole time.
well, I'm sure you can talk about your experience of traveling and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
what it was it pretty cool to get to experience and go to all these different places?
Oh, it was unbelievable, but unbelievable in many ways. Like shit show sometimes, awesome sometimes, horrifying sometimes. Like it was just all over the map. Like I was talking with I had a reporter on last episode, Jillian. She's with the KHL, but she's from Jersey, and we were telling some stories, and just about the differences. You go from the Ritz type of a hotel to absolute, like, you wouldn't even believe, Biz. Well, I'm sure you've heard, but like it's crazy.
What was the name of the place they had to stay at the night before games? There was a name for it. Not the brothel. It was it was called like the Baza. Is it called the Baza?
I don't know.
Oh, Whit talks about it all the time, where you would basically stay at like an army bunker to be away from your family and like lights out by 9.
Oh yeah, our team didn't have to do that. Like, we had all American, Canadian American coaches, right? It was Kurt Fraser, Steve Casper, myself. Covey Alexei was the only not North American coach, but yeah. So we made sure that we didn't do any of that shit. But I will say this: we did try one Russian thing as the year ended, because we got stuck. When we left in January, because that COVID thing all kind of exploded, we were leaving, packing just a travel bag, being told that no, we're actually never coming back. So we played the rest of the year on the road in Russia. So we based in a hotel in Moscow and then traveled everywhere for the rest of the year. But it was kind of it was an interesting life, an interesting year. I'll say, I'll say that. But there's a
I've
lot of
never been
cool.
to Moscow. I heard
What?
it's yeah, I heard it's just
That part's
it's a
cool.
super city. Yeah, I heard it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the restaurants and some of the other places that you can go to have fun. Maybe
Yeah.
not you, but some of the other players.
Yeah. Well, hey, I joke about it because back in the day, yeah, that would not have been a good place for me.
Too much part. Exactly. My career would have been over in like 3 weeks if I was over there.
Yeah, and I come from a time too. Like even when you played the biz, I always marveled. You guys, even though you partied and shit, you guys were very responsible, great shape. I made sure you were worked out all the time. Like if you count my junior days, I played in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, junior and pro. So I come from a time where it was play hard, party harder. It was like nonstop, and you go to training camp to train, basically, you get back in shape. But
I was partying quite a bit during my NHL days. That's
yeah,
when I especially when I got to Phoenix. When I was playing with Manchester, there was still a little bit. When I got to Ontario, it slowed down quite a bit. I just couldn't recover. But you would see the young guys be going out on like the Mondays and the college nights and having a
yeah,
good
yeah,
time.
yeah,
But as you said, they would always show up ready to work and
yeah,
sweat it
yeah.
out. You didn't really have an option with Stutz. And we always have those bag skates. He loved his bag skates.
There was the was it Oggs?
Oh yeah. He there was a few times when guys would show up hungover and yeah,
Those are
Augie especially because he was such a big guy and it was probably
couldn't
hard controlling those big
couldn't
ass
hide it.
feet. No, he could not hide it. And he
That was
reeked.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
We had some characters on that squad.
Big time.
We
Big
had
time.
half the Guelph Storm organization drafted to our team.
That was the big running joke in the office, actually.
Augie?
No, the Guelph, the whole connection there
Yeah.
with the Guelph Storm and
Zach
everybody
Leslie,
drafting.
Nick Ebert,
Yeah,
Justin Auger. Who else? That might have been it for the Guelph guys, at least
yeah.
by the time I was there.
Hyder.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I think they won. I think they might have even won an OHL championship together.
Crazy. Crazy. Um, hey, bud, I don't want to keep you too long here. I know that you were saying like you're just busting these out today all day long. Um, what what do you got planned down the road here? Anything special?
No, we're doing, we're doing the podcast. We've been pushing a lot more video content. We started doing these sandbaggers. So
I saw
it's really,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's really whatever opportunity comes our way. And, I like to try to be as creative as possible and entertain the following that we do have. We're trying to bolster our YouTube channel as well. And ultimately it just comes down to how much freedom I can have and what I want to do down the road. You have to Barstool's been a great partner. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that our podcast has earned their trust and maybe do some fun shows down the road, maybe like a movie, more things like I did with Biz Does BC. I do enjoy being in front of the camera and I do really like the creative aspect and having control in how you can manipulate it. Like I
Mhm.
sit down with my buddy Pasha and we edit all this stuff together.
Oh yeah.
And it is I there's nothing more fun than putting something together, filming it, and then trying to manipulate it to the best final product as possible. And you could
Mhm.
see if anybody who's listening has watched the Sandbaggers, which started with Crosby and McKinnon in Halifax with one camera, which was Pasha, my buddy, filming. And we started, I think, on hole 3 and filmed the rest of the round. And whatever shots we had, we made it into something. To what Sandbagger 6 was, and was the last one that came out, where there's drone footage and we got TaylorMade and Peter Millar as sponsors now, which we have a high brand golf sponsorship, and with that we're able to have a 5-man camera crew. We have 2 sound guys. We have drone footage. We're able to get just as big a name. I mean, not bigger than Sid and Nate really, but we got a donor in Tyson Nash in the last one. And then it's the humor aspect. So we're trying to make these look as good as possible and eventually make other things that we do look as good as possible as well. Whether it's going to be, I would love to go back to England where I played during the lockout and do a documentary on the league there about
I
how it all operates. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
one
yeah.
idea I have that I want to do. Well, how do I do that? Well, we have to earn enough trust to where I have the creative control, where someone's going to trust me with a certain budget to where I'm able to go over there and do so. And that's just, I talked about it earlier. I'm just going to keep putting my head down and working and hopefully eventually find myself in these situations where we can continually make and create these really cool things for hockey fans to enjoy.
The That is so cool, especially when you said that you enjoy doing that part of it, not just.
Well, buddy, that's the most enjoyable part is the editing, because that means all the work is done. Because
Mhm.
organizing it, going there, putting the time, and you know, I get very nervous because you're not only asking for trust in with a pretty big budget. Well,
Mhm.
as it scales up, it's big, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you have to get in front of the camera and somewhat perform. And you're
Yeah.
hoping that this idea that you've created in your mind, that you've put pen to paper and trying to execute, comes to fruition. And
Mhm.
there's been certain things that haven't been as good as others, but ultimately you give it your best, and you learn as you go. And I did that Watson gloves commercial. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw it.
We also did a one for McDonald's where they reached out, where I was like Peter Man's biz. But the more freedom you get, and the bigger budgets, the more members of a team you can add to relieve pressure off not only yourself, but ultimately, if you prepare enough in advance, the the chances that it's going to be executed properly are much higher. And I thought that we did a very good job. And it takes a village. It's not just me, it's the team that we assembled.
Very cool. You know what? Before I forget, and I can't believe I almost forgot this, because one of the coolest things that actually maybe the coolest thing that ever happened to me in my career, might even been playing included, was you were with me when I backed up Jonah.
That's right.
And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because I'm going to promote this. I'm going to show the footage. I can't remember who showed it. I did an interview the next day with I think it was NHL Network. I did it with a bunch, but anyways, it was on TV, and the the preview to them talking about this great story was you coming out on to warm up and me following you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, out of the tunnel. I remember that in Ontario,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I was like, that's the one time Biz and I were stepped on the ice together.
I didn't know. I don't know if I was superstitious about it, but I was usually one of the last guys. But that's probably because I was so slow getting ready, because I would leave it to last minute, and that was just in my nature. But yeah, it was great, man, and we shared some amazing memories. I appreciate you having me on, and
Thanks a
at
lot.
some point, I would love to get you on the Spittin Chiclets podcast to basically just talk about the how you help these goalies find their way. And
Anytime.
as much as you want to downplay it, it was really cool to witness. You guys work together in order to help the team have success.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. And I thanks so much for coming on.
Of
I had a
course.
great time catching up with you, man. I've been waiting a long time to do it, but I appreciate that you finally took the time.
I know it's a shame we couldn't talk more about Stutzy, but I'll just go and reiterate what I said is he's my favorite coach I ever had. I talked about it on the Terry Ryan podcast, and he was towards the end of my career, I think he was a little bit more lenient on me, although maybe not in practice like we talked about, but especially in junior. And I really enjoyed how hard and how hard he was on us, and the accountability that he instilled in us, because I think that I've really been able to bring that in my post career. And
Well,
he's
very
kind of
cool.
carved me out to the person that I've been, as far as from a professional
Yeah,
standpoint,
yeah.
because when you aren't paying attention to details, and you aren't putting as much effort as you should be in, I think that there's like a level of guilt that comes associated with that. And I think that him making us aware of that has helped me in my post career get to where I've gotten. And I always talk about Stutzy and how much he meant to me.
Very cool. I'm sure he'll be like oohing and on over that.
Oh God, he's gonna be on his fucking jet ski at his lake house, fucking buzzing around like who's the guy eastbound and down? What's his name? Fucking Kenny Powers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fucking Stutzy and his jet skis.
And his Crocs.
His stupid Crocs.
Those
Well,
things are
hey, Peter
massive.
Forsberg made a fucking billion off him, I think. So good for Stutzy's pouring money into his account.
Thanks a lot, Biz. I really appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, great chatting with you, buddy, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed the podcast on my YouTube channel. It was my first time doing that. I apologize for the amateur hour, but I kind of had to do it all by myself. So I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank Biz for coming on. I had an unbelievable time doing it with him. He's a hilarious dude and such a nice guy. It was such a pleasure. I have a great time with everybody on the podcast, but in particular, he was a lot of fun. So if you like the podcast, tell a friend, like, share, all that good shit. And within the YouTube channel, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And hopefully from this point onward, I'll be putting on the full episodes on video as well as on my podcast platform. If you want to check out the podcast on the platforms, they're on all the major platforms for podcasts. So go check that out. Oh, and lastly, remember, you get 20% off and free shipping using the code DUSTY70 at manscaped.com. Make sure you go check that out. Well, that's about it, guys. I hope you had a great time. And until next time, remember what I always say, stay safe, stay connected, and God bless. Peace.